What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. Another week is here. Appreciate you making us a part of your start on this Monday and this week by tuning in. If it's on the radio dials, online, sportstalk1051.com. You got the video stream up on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Google Alexa home devices, of course, the Sports Talk app. But how y'all doing? You have a good weekend? Maybe kind of recovering from the snow last week, and maybe we're able to enjoy the weekend there a little bit. Hey, before we get too far down the rabbit hole this morning, do have some school closings and delays, including Eau Claire and Chippewa Falls off to a couple hours. Slow start today, delayed start here this morning. So if you want, you can check out the entire list at our website, sportstalk1051.com, presented by Hovland and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. But as we mentioned, Chippewa, in case it just, I think, happened a little bit ago because my rang a little bit of school district and that sort of thing. But Eau Claire opening 2 hours late, Chippewa Falls opening 2 hours late. We do have some schools too that are closed all day, like Oliva Strum, Elk Mound, opening up 2 hours late. Fall Creek is a virtual learning Monday as well. Gilman's closed, so a lot of them coming in the like last 35, 40 minutes. It looks like because when I checked it out, I don't know, 5:30 list was fairly small, but then it's expanded because it just started doing that freezing rain and mixed precipitation just a little bit ago. So if you are heading out on the roads here this morning, be careful, take some extra time, and maybe you should delay your start along with the schools here this morning. So might have changes too. You never know. We'll keep you updated. All right, let's what do we got on the game plan here this morning? We're going to talk some baseball. We had some spring training games beginning this weekend, especially for the Brewers. First game was up on Saturday there. Obviously, we're not going to, go through wins and losses and that sort of thing when it comes to spring training and such. Brewers did drop 2 games yesterday. But Garrett Mitchell hitting a couple dingers first spring training game there. But what I want to focus on with spring training here is obviously this was our first introduction, maybe for a lot of us, unless you're kind of following a little bit with some of them in the minor leagues and such. But for the most part, this was our first introduction to some of these new rule changes and such. So, first impressions, your thoughts. If you kind of want to look at some of the numbers, again, it's a small sample size here, but this was from Mike. Is it Mike Monaco, play-by-play for ESPN and such. 2022 MLB average spring training game length, 3 hours. So last year's spring training game length, 3 hours. The first weekend, first few games so far this year with the rule changes, pitch clock and that, 2 hours and 39 minutes. So 21 minutes shorter. And these were only 9-inning games included in both of these numbers. So if you say, well, those were 7-inning games, these were just what Mike put up there, just the 9-inning games. So first impressions, shorter games. You like it? Obviously, we saw, I think with the pitch clock too, most of us think about the pitchers, but we saw it where it affected the batters this weekend, Atlanta game. In case anybody missed that, ended in a tie because the batter was called for, he was called for an automatic strike, which was the third strike and final out there because he wasn't ready in the batter's box. Wasn't ready in time. So he was dinged up for a strike. What do you make of it? Your first impressions, your thoughts on what you saw, or maybe heard if you were listening to some of the games on the radio and such. Like the speed of play? Think about that for a little bit. I'm curious to get everybody's thoughts on your first initial impressions on it. I mean, if you were listening to like Euchre on the on our radio station on Saturday, he was a big proponent of banning of the shift and such. You talked about that for a little bit, especially at the beginning of the game. Seems like more, I know when this was kind of before it was official, well, but almost seemed like it was a 50-50 split, at least amongst our listeners and such. But I don't know. It kind of, you feel like you're hearing more support for it or more praise for it now that's actually here and a legit rule and such. So, what else do we got on the docket here this morning? We're going to talk some Bucks. Hey, the Bucks extended their winning streak to 14, the longest in the NBA so far this season. Although, if you ask my 5-year-old, it should be 15 games because he counts Team Giannis's win in the All-Star game as a win in a row. But if we're looking at just the regular season games, 14 in a row. And really, both, since they're 2 games back from the All-Star break, have been without Giannis. I know they started the game on Friday night against Miami with Giannis in the lineup. I think kind of surprised a lot of people, including myself. But he ended up leaving the game early due to what they were calling it at that point, knee to knee. Like he banged knees with somebody else, but now they're calling it a quad contusion. So it didn't have anything to do with his wrist there. But they got the win Friday on against Miami. And then yesterday's entertaining game against Phoenix. No KD in that game. He hasn't made his debut yet with the Suns. But Bucks jumped out to an early lead. Then the Suns, with a few minutes left in that game yesterday, looked like they were going to control it. But then Bucks come back. And then the Bucks able to close it out with another W. With another win. We got to see Jay Crowder make his debut on Friday night as well. Bobby Portis had himself a game Friday night. Drew Holiday lighting it up yesterday. So Bucks still in that second spot in the Eastern Conference, but winners of 14 straight right now, improving to 26-5 at home. 26-5 at home, 43-17 overall on the season. Their next game is going to be coming up tomorrow night against Brooklyn on the road before they return home for a couple games against Orlando and Philadelphia on Saturday there. When you look at this, I mean, Boston had a big win over the weekend against the 76ers too, so Bucks can't quite catch them. But, I mean, you want to talk about how dominant the Bucks have been home, one of the top teams in all of the NBA at home with that 26-5 record. When you look at it, it's the best one in the Eastern Conference. Closest one looks like Boston at 24-7, but across the entire NBA, only the Denver Nuggets have a better home record, 28-4, and they're just 15-5 on the road. And then you got Memphis, who's 25-5. They're the second team in the West. Okay, 25-5 at home, but they're 11-18 on the road. Whew. Second seeded team, Memphis Grizzlies, 36-23. You look at it across the NBA, I mean, Boston, Milwaukee, Denver, top 3. Do you put Philly in that category? How many teams do you think in the NBA right now? Bucks got 22 games left in the regular season before the postseason. So we started off with 24. They got 2 in. So how many legit teams do you think there are in the NBA, like legit title contenders right now? Are you going to go with 2, 3, 4? I might go with 4 right now. I think I'm going to go with 4, and 3 of them are in the Eastern Conference. I think Denver's a legit title contender. Although, the thing is, it might be... I might have to put it to 5 because Phoenix now with KD, I want to see that thing work first. You add KD in with Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul I'm not really worried about. But, you add KD in there. I mean, on paper, that's a legit lineup, right? You got a lot of shooting in there. You got a lot of scoring in there between KD and Booker and such. I want to see it work, though. So I got to see that first. But if it works like it looks like on paper, then I think you can add Phoenix into that equation, even though they're 4th in the West and 33-29 right now. But as of right now, Boston, I could see winning it all. Milwaukee, I could see winning it all. Denver, I can see winning it all. And I'd probably put Philly in there right now. Although they're probably like my 4th on that list. I mean, Joel Embiid is, we all know that dude's a stud. But what do you think? What do you think? How many legit title contenders are there right now with, what, 22, 21 games left, depending on your favorite team and such? So we'll talk a little hoops. It is Combine week now in the NFL, and maybe this is the week we're going to find out about Aaron Charles Rodgers. Will we find out today? That's the majority of a lot of you who signed up for our Rodgers pool. The majority of you picked today. Today's the day, 27th. Maybe some of you thinking we'll find out today, then he'll talk on his buddy Pat McAfee show tomorrow and such. But this is the day that the majority of you have picked. We will know the decision. So we'll see. If anything happens to pop up this morning, we'll keep you posted and such. However, though, just a couple of days ago, the Packers creating more cap space by restructuring some contracts of Preston Smith and Jair Alexander. So what does that mean? Well, it means right now the Packers are under the salary cap. They're under the salary cap. They're about, if you look at like Spot Track, they've got it at about $5.9 million available in cap space. So they started off the offseason, what, 20-some over, was it? 20-some over the cap. Aaron Jones takes a pay cut. Packers restructured Jair and Preston. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a deal done with Rashawn Gary, a long-term deal done to lower his cap hit this year. His cap hit's at $10.9 million with that fifth-year option that's guaranteed on there. So you give him a long-term deal, you'll lower that cap hit, you open up some more cap space. Possibly another option could be restructuring Kenny Clark's contract. I was playing along with that Spot Track roster management there, and they could save almost about $6 million in cap space, it seems like. Maybe about 5 or 6. Again, these are just based off estimations and such, but I think there's a couple more moves to be made. And, of course, the big one out there is the quarterback, right? Aaron Rodgers. So, but Packers making some moves, and right now they are under the salary cap. But the Combine now. So Packers are not sending their coaches, Matt LaFleur and such. They're not going to be there. And last year we saw a couple teams not have their coaches there. And if you remember, it seemed like LaFleur was a little jealous that, some coach, I think it was Sean McVay didn't have to go there. I can't remember. Was Kyle Shanahan? I don't think he was there either. But regardless, Packers not sending their coaches there. It's going to be their scouting staff and GM. I'm not sure what day Goody's going to be talking, but he will have a media session and such. But, I want to ask, Combine. It's Combine week. It's the Underwear Olympics. What's the most boring, yet you can't turn away sports events that you get into? And maybe not die hard to get into, but you kind of follow along, you pay attention to it and all that sort of stuff. Like, is the Combine one of the most overhyped, yet you can't turn away sports events out there? I think it is. I'll raise my hand. I'm a draft nut. I love the NFL draft. I eat that thing up. I love mock drafts when we get a little closer. I love draft day. But I will fully admit that the Combine gets a little overhyped and I'm not saying in terms of overhyped for the players. I mean, this is their opportunity to, interview with teams and maybe move up on the draft boards and such. But I think as just from a pure fan standpoint, maybe it gets a little overhyped. We're going to talk some Badgers as well. Badger hoops falling to Michigan in overtime yesterday. What does that mean for their tournament chances? Just 2 more games left for this Badger men's basketball team. Shout out to Marquette, though. Big East champs, huh? But we'll chat a little Badger hoops after falling in overtime yesterday to Michigan, thanks to a last second kind of prayer 3-pointer from Michigan. You guys watching that game last night? I was watching after the Bucks won. And man, so what does it mean for their bracket chances? We'll kind of go through the latest updates and all that stuff out there. Got a Monday morning quarterback. It is a Studs and Duds Monday. Who has made your Studs and Duds list? You can text those babies on over. Motivational Monday as well. No JC and the EC, Justice Cleveland this morning. So we'll do our best to kind of recap some of the regional and local stuff out there as well. But let's get things rolling here this morning. Let's talk a little baseball. Let's talk a little hoops. Let's talk some baseball first. First things first. Your initial impressions, your initial thoughts from the first few games of spring training in terms of the pace of play, some of the new rule changes. Maybe this was your first time kind of being introduced to that. We went through some of the different numbers, and I think the big thing out there is the time, the length of these games and such. But your initial thoughts, your first impressions, an extremely, extremely small sample size. We get that. But first impressions. And if you got any first impressions with the Brewers or your favorite team too, you can do that as well. So we'll take that break. And then coming up, we'll get things rolling here on this Monday morning. Talk a little baseball. Thinking about summer here a little bit. We'll be back after these quick words. Reminder in case you're just waking up this morning and maybe tuning on the radio. Do have some delays and closings. A lot of them kind of just popping up here in the last hour or so. Altoona is now, opening up a couple hours late. Got Eau Claire and Chippewa opening 2 hours late as well. We do have some closings, but again, check out the list. SportsTalk1051.com brought to you by Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. Yeah, that list is getting a little bit bigger over here too. So might want to check it out. Maybe some of you don't have school. Like, well, it is 2023, so you got virtual learning there too. Sorry, kiddos. You got some virtual learning. Never had to do that when I was a kid. Also, I could probably count on the number of times on one hand when we actually had school closed. So I can't really even speak about what snow days were like because it was so few far in between. But it's mostly with the ice and the rain out there, so gonna be slick for a little bit this morning till the plows can get out there and temperatures maybe get up a little bit higher here this morning too. So, hey, kind of since we're talking baseball too, I kind of posted a question up on my Facebook page yesterday, facebook.com/Kasper Sports, but was with a buddy this weekend. And he's getting back into a little card collecting and such, but he's all in baseball and that. And we were kind of talking baseball and such, and kind of made me wonder too. Besides Griffey, besides Junior, who was your favorite baseball player from the 90s? So take Griffey Jr. out of it because that's like the majority of everybody's pick. So if you take Griffey out of there, who's either your next or maybe this was your favorite besides Griffey? A lot of Kenny Lofton picks. I think that's quite a few between Facebook and Twitter. We had some Kenny Lofton picks, had some Vaughn picks. Either it was Greg or Mo on there. But I was kind of curious. I'm like, okay, no, I don't think anybody's picked a pitcher. I know we had quite a few comments. Maybe I missed one, but I don't think anybody's picked. No, we did have a Roger Clemens pick. That's right. There was a Roger Clemens pick on there. So, but if you haven't chimed in on that, hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. All right, who's your favorite 90s MLB baseball player not named Junior, Ken Griffey Jr.? You could throw in Cal Ripken Jr., so I got to say Ken Griffey Jr. on there. I'm kind of curious because I was thinking about that when I was talking to my buddy over the weekend, and I was like, yeah, Frank Thomas was probably mine because to this day, I still don't know why I grew up as I wasn't a diehard, but I had a White Sox hat, and I remember always playing as the White Sox in video games. So I was always kind of like a Frank Thomas type of fan there, but not really a diehard. But Thomas would be up there for me. I think like Cal Ripken Jr. also up there too. But let's see your list out there. Okay, speaking of baseball, let's get things rolling here on the opening drive this morning. So we saw some spring training games over the weekend. Brewers kicked off their spring training on Saturday. Probably heard that game here on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. This was our first glimpse for many about some of the new rule changes, bigger base bigger bases. I was going to say bigger base paths, but bigger bases, banning the shift, and obviously the pitch clock. And the pitch clock, we actually saw it affect kind of a batter, right? In that Atlanta game, tie ball game, base loaded. Batter thought he had the winning walk. Ended up being he was ringed up with another strike, which means it was his final strike there because he wasn't in the batter's box in time. So we kind of saw it affect hitters in that essence. But some of the numbers to kind of come through, I mentioned it at the beginning, but in case you missed it, Mike Monaco tweeted this out. 2022 MLB average spring training game lengths, 3 hours. And so far, in the small sample size that we have gotten this year, 2 hours and 39 minutes. We're talking about 21 minutes shorter. 21 minutes shorter in baseball. Have you listening right now has one of your biggest bugaboos in terms of watching baseball and maybe being a fan of baseball, but has the length been one of the biggest issues for you when it's coming to watching baseball? Or are you of the mindset of, you know what? If I'm watching baseball, I understand it might be for 3 hours or so. If you want to talk about last year's regular season games, the length average was about 3 hours and 7 minutes. The regular season games, the spring training games last year were 3 hours. Regular season was about 7 minutes longer. And when I was kind of looking at some of this stuff last night and early this morning, I saw some people kind of talking about comparing Major League Baseball to the NFL. And I saw some of these numbers. Now, again, I don't know if they're 100% accurate, but this was something kind of on Twitter and such. Average MLB game, again, a little over 3 minutes. The quote action time in Major League Baseball is 18 minutes. They compared it to the NFL where their game lengths are longer, 3 hours, 10, 12 minutes, and their average time of quote ball in play is 18 minutes. So there's some argument, does baseball need to be sped up more? Does it need to become more entertaining? The thing is like how do you get baseball though? My counter argument to that would be is like how do you get baseball more entertaining without really like changing it into this goofy type of game? You know, I don't want any like, hey, hit it here and get 5 extra runs or something, you know, stupid stuff like that. I don't know how you adjust baseball to make it quote more entertaining. Like what is I get some of the comparisons being out there like football, you know, you got one play, but it could be a highly entertaining play and then, you know, it's like, okay, you got the play clock, call the play in, all blah blah blah. I get it. I understand it. But I don't know what you could do if we were to kind of, you know, this one some people out on Twitter saying does baseball need to speed up or become more entertaining? Like what I don't know what you can do. This is baseball. Baseball is baseball. I don't want it to become too gimmicky. I don't want it to be, you know what I mean? Like I feel like it is what it is, and the best counter to that is probably speeding up the play of the game, the pace of the game. I mean, because I'm sure all of us have kind of been there, whether you're watching it on TV or actually at the ballpark. After a few innings, after you get what to the fifth, sixth inning, seventh inning, you're kind of like maybe watching the clock. It's like, all right, can we get this going here a little bit? Especially like on TV when you go through the first few innings and then it's all the pitching changes. Then it's like, oh, that's when it kind of starts to slow down. It's like, oh, jeez. Okay, starter's done. Now you got pitching changes and you got relievers coming in. Because it feels like after the first couple innings, first few innings, it's going at a good pace. But then you got all those subs. You got all those substitutions coming in. So I'm good with, you know, my first initial thoughts. Again, it's a small sample size. I like the clock. I don't know. Can we call it a pitch clock though? Can we come up with a different name if hitters are, you know, they got to be in there within 8 seconds and such? Can we just call it the clock or the play clock? But I'm good with the clock on here. This pace of play, I think, you know, baseball is a different type of game to watch, especially when you're in person, because it always had the laid back, casual like game. You know, it allowed you maybe to, you know, talk to the buddy next to you, talk to the other fan. You might miss a pitch, you might miss a few pitches. You get up, you walk around, go grab yourself a beer and a dog or something like that. Whereas football, it's like, okay, you're trying to time out. your bathroom trips between the first and second quarter or at halftime. It's a mad rush. Everybody's waiting in line, or it's like, okay, I'm going to wait until my team's on defense because I don't want to miss the offense potentially, scoring a touchdown. Football, you're trying to time it out that way. Baseball, you're like, yeah, whatever, whenever. Just get up there and because you're kind of, lollygagging. Basketball, it's so back and forth, high pace right there. It's just, I think that's why my 5-year-old is so into basketball right now because it's just constant action with back and forth. Now baseball with the clock and such, you're kind of more in tune. I feel like that you're more, you don't kind of daze off or you don't doze off or you don't kind of like get it and like, okay, I'm done. This is, checking out essentially. You got to be tuned in. It's happening quicker. I kind of like it. I wasn't sure what to expect, to be honest with you, and I'm still not sure because this is just a small sample size, but my first impressions, I like it. I like this faster pace of play. I think it'll keep fans engaged a little bit longer too. And we're going to see it, in the Eau Claire area with the Express and Northwoods League action too. So, guess to sum it up, my first impressions, thumbs up. I like it. Now I would be curious to see, once we get into the regular season. I mean, this is kind of a try it out period for a lot of these players too, and I think for hitters. As we mentioned that Atlanta game, dude got rung up because he wasn't in the batter's box in time. All right, because how many of us, been annoyed with that batter, Ryan Braun, adjusting the gloves, taking a deep breath, blah, 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 getting, it's a routine. We get it. You hear athletes, you hear people in sports all the time talk about developing a routine, free throw routine, just it's a mental thing. Oh, you got to change your routine now in baseball if you're a hitter. And when I was listening to that game on the radio on Saturday, I was driving around and such in the good old truck, listening and then, hopping out, running in somewhere, coming back in. It's like, holy crap, they're already, second time through a lineup or something. But, just a couple games in for the Brewers. If we saw Rowdy Tellez hitting a dinger, Garrett Mitchell, 2-homer day on Saturday when the Brewers beat the Dodgers. That game, if anybody was wondering too, 2 hours and 21 minutes it was clocked in as. In case anybody was just curious. So, yesterday, though, the Brewers dropping a couple games there. But Garrett Mitchell, man, not a bad way to start off spring training. Probably going to be the opening day starting center fielder. That'd be a nice little boost over there if he can, cut down on the strikeouts and such like we saw him at the end of last year when he was called up. Obviously made some plays, made some big hits, but struck out a little bit there. But, first time up, understandable. Totally get it. But, man, that would be kind of cool. That would be a big boost for this offense if Garrett Mitchell can be a threat at the plate, especially with his speed. We know about his speed. MLB.com, I know I've been kind of mentioning a lot of their articles and pieces leading up to the opening day, but they selected a dark horse candidate for opening day roster, one player for every single team out there. And, I think if we posed that question, and I guess we could to our wonderful listeners out there, I feel like Brian Anderson would be a popular name just from a lot of you out there chiming in about Brian Anderson the last, couple weeks, few weeks since he's been signed. That's not who Adam McCalvey from Brewers.com picked, though. He went with the pitcher, Gus Varland. His little write-up, the Brewers haven't carried a Rule 5 pick since 2016, but they like what they have in Garland, a former A's and Dodgers prospect, who saw a significant uptick in velocity after moving to the bullpen last year. The difficulty is finding a roster spot in Milwaukee's remade bullpen. So maybe that's a name to kind of store in the back of your mind. A guy by the name of Gus Varlin. Was that Rule 5 pick 2016? Was that Wei Tung Wang? I think it was. Man, it's already been 2016. Holy moly. It's been a little bit out there. All right. Let's take a quick break. Again, send me your favorite 90s MLB players not named Ken Griffey Jr. Take Griffey Jr. off that. Who do you got? I mean, it's kind of like, okay, if we did this with the NBA, we could say, all right, favorite 90s NBA player not named Michael Jordan. You know, you still got Shaq in there. If you were a Penny fan like I was, maybe the Dream, David Robinson, Clyde the Glide, Drexler, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton. But for baseball purposes, take Griffey Jr. out of it. Favorite 90s baseball player. I was actually surprised with some of your picks. I'm like, all right. Did have a couple of, like Yount and Molitor picks in there in the early 90s and such. But Kenny Lofton was a popular pick. We had a couple people going with the Vaughns, Greg and Mo. Only one pitcher that I've seen so far. I don't have the texting line open up because I didn't want to get distracted by text right away. But send me those on over Facebook and Twitter. I'm really kind of curious. So, all right. We'll take that break. We'll finish up the first hour. We got some hoops talked as well. Bucks continue their winning ways. 14 in a row, baby. Starting on March 17th and going through the 19th, it's the Wisconsin Sports Show Spring Edition going on at the Chippewa Valley Expo Center. You can head to our website at sportstalk1051.com for your chance to win some tickets. Just go to that website, click on the Enter and Win tab there, and enter for your chance to win some tickets. You can head to wisportshow.com for a listing of events and vendors and speakers and all that good stuff over there, too. So that's coming up here. Just a couple weeks now. So otherwise, it's $7 for general admission for 12 and older. 11 and younger are free. Clear cut majority. I'm kind of glad I didn't do a poll question on this, but everybody loving the pace of play rule changes there, faster games. Sorry, Steve, you're the only one right now that doesn't like the pace of play right now. You don't want to do anything. No time limits. You're the only one right now, Steve. That's not saying that. Everybody else, it's wide majority saying you love the increase in the speed of play there. So the rest of you, you can, if you want, you can hit us up with some text on that, 715-830-1912. We'll talk some hoops coming up in the next hour, both Bucks, Marquette, and Badgers. So we'll hold on to that chat. It's coming up in the next hour. But the question I kind of threw out there for the Bucks, now 14 wins in a row, longest winning streak in the NBA this season. How many legit contenders do you think there are right now in the NBA? With, depending on your team, Bucks got 22 games left in the regular season, half game back from Boston for first place in the East. Philly's there as the 3 seed. You got Denver kind of controlling the Western Conference right now. We'll see with Phoenix, with KD added to the mix here. Would you say that number's at like a 3, maybe a 4, maybe a 5? How many legit contenders do you think there are right now in the NBA? I think we would all agree the Bucks are one of them. I think we would all agree Boston's probably one of them. So if we have that line at 2, is it 2? Is it 3, 4, 5? What do you got for me? We'll hit that up in the next hour, along with that loss from the Badgers against Michigan. What does that mean in terms of their chances at making a tournament? Marquette, regular season Big East champs. Heck of a season for that ball club, and the job that Shaka Smart has done over there too. Also in the next hour, what we'll do a little motivational Monday, and then a little Monday morning quarterbacking, and then about 8:05 we'll hit up some studs and duds. If you want to play along with your studs and duds, you can do so by hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. The kind of fun question I was throwing out there for everybody was, name your favorite 90s Major League Baseball player who wasn't named Griffey Jr. As I mentioned, we had quite a few, Robin Yount, Paul Molitor picks, quite a few Kenny Loftons, some Vaughn picks, Mo and Greg. Sandberg from the Cubs was on there a couple times. We had a Roger Clemens pick on there. Surveyor went with a little Randy Johnson. So we got a couple pitchers on there. We had a Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson pick. I think mine was probably the big hurt, as I mentioned at the beginning, Frank Thomas. That's if I take Griffey out of there, because I remember always playing in the backyard with some buddies, and what we would do is we would take a notepad, because it's before cell phones and such, and you're in your middle school, elementary days. We'd take a notepad and we kind of draft our teams. So we would do that. We would make a batting lineup, but then what we would have to do is we would have to bat like that batter, like their batting stance and such. And if they were a lefty and you're not a lefty, you had to swing lefty. So it was a little like strategery there, right? So, Griffey obviously was a left-handed batter. Unless you wanted to try batting left-handed, maybe you didn't try to, you didn't pick him for your team, because if you weren't a great lefty, you're probably was almost an out. And what we would do is there was this big tree, like this big old tree, That was the catcher. So a lot of it was just kind of like one-on-one baseball, Nerf action, right? Those foam bats and foam balls. So that would be like, hey, if it hits a tree, it's a strike, between the knees or something like that. But then, you lay into one, it'd get high up in the air, but maybe not go the furthest. And it was just a sprint to get the ball and try to get the runner out before they reached home. And of course, you had the little ghost runner action going on there too. But that's how we would do. I mean, the games would be like 25-22 or something like that. But that's kind of like introduction to batting stances and doing all these batting stances. Like, Griffey was you had the little bat wiggle there and the sweet swing. I remember if I drafted Cal Ripken, you're kind of resting the bat depending on the year. Gary Sheffield, the whole, back and forth with the bat there too. But I was thinking about that this past weekend because I was with a buddy and we were talking about, he was getting back into card collecting, but it was all baseball. And I was trying to think, man, because I'm not really into the baseball one, but like if I did, it would have to be somebody that, if I got into collecting baseball cards, it would have to be somebody that I was a fan of in the 90s. And I was like, okay, besides Griffey, who would that be? And I was like, okay, Frank Thomas. And then it's like, oh, who else would it be? Ripken Jr. or somebody like that? So that's kind of why I threw out that question, because I was kind of curious, like, who'd everybody else kind of follow besides maybe Junior? Because I think everybody kind of followed him, or at least if you weren't a fan of him, I mean, you recognized the game, right? And then it got me going through all the baseball cards I did have with Hudson and such, and just kind of seeing what I had, and not a lot of baseball because I wasn't the biggest baseball collector out there. It was always NBA and NFL for me, but definitely had quite a few Frank Thomases, more than I thought. And Barry Bonds is on there too. Nobody picked Barry Bonds so far. Nobody picked Barry. Try to take away think about maybe how you were maybe a fan before you found out all about the steroid stuff. Okay. So if you take that away, would Barry be on that list for you? Or maybe not. I don't know. But you can keep those picks coming. Hit me up on Facebook or on Twitter. Okay. Facebook.com/Kasper Sports, Twitter.com, or I should say at DANKASPER. Also, it is Combine Week. The other question I want to get to is how much. Let's make this a two-parter, because I'm really curious to see how many people actually pay attention to the Combine. Maybe you don't watch it. You don't watch the 40s. You don't watch anything on there. Maybe you kind of see some stuff online. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. First part, how many of you actually follow the Combine or pay a little bit of attention to it? 59 days away until the NFL draft, by the way. And with it being the Combine, what's maybe the most boring, yet you can't turn away, you can't tune it off, sports event that you get into? So you recognize that, you know what, this is boring. This isn't the most entertaining thing, but I can't not watch it. I can't not get into it. Is it the Combine for some of you? Maybe it's like watching golf or something. Say, I can't not watch the Masters. It's boring, but I can't not watch it. What is that for you? Let's get a list out here. Okay? Maybe for some of you it is baseball. I don't know. But let's get a little fun list. And I want to know if you actually legit do pay attention to the Combine. By the way, saw Matt Schneidman post that Goody will be talking tomorrow morning from the Combine. Will he be talking about his quarterback coming back, or no decision yet? Clock's ticking, isn't it? Tick, 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 tick. Gotta happen this week. Come on. Right? Gotta. I think. I don't know. We'll see. All right, shot clock's going to cut me off here, so we'll start off the second hour with some sports nuggets of the day. No justice, so I will do my best to kind of recap some of the local and regional stuff out there. I know we have some state champs in wrestling and some hockey going to states and hoops and such, but we'll try to cover as much as we can. And then let's get into some hoops talk with the Bucks, winners of 14 in a row. How many other legit
Get up! He's on his way. He's our man. The man, the myth, the legend. That's Dan. And now, the Dan Kasper Show.
Second hour kicking off on this kind of an icy start, depending on where you're tuning in from here this morning. Again, a lot of delays, some closings out there too. You can head to our website, sportstalk1051.com. Check out the listings there. Brought to you by Hovland's and Service Master of Chippewa Valley. Coming up this hour, we're going to talk a little hoops. Bucks, 14 wins in a row. Badgers falling to Michigan. Marquette, Big East champs. We're going to talk a little football here too. Packers create cap space. Just how much cap space did they create over the weekend? We'll deep dive into that as well. But first, let's do some sports nuggets of the day. Brought to you by Yancey Associates. It was this day in 1908. Major League Baseball adopted a sacrifice fly rule for the first time. It was repealed, reinstated, and then changed several times before being permanently accepted in 1954. 1912, the New York Yankees announced that they would be wearing pinstripes on their uniforms. 1963, Mickey Mantle signed a contract worth $100,000 with the New York Yankees. What else do we got on here? 1987, the NCAA canceled Southern Methodist University's entire 1987 football schedule for gross violations of the NCAA rules on athletic corruption. 1996, the Bulls reached 50 victories in 56 games to set an NBA record. What else do we got here? Emmitt Smith, this day in 2003, became a free agent for the first time when the Dallas Cowboys released him. Those are just some of your sports nuggets, again, brought to you by Yancey Associates. So, no justice this morning. We had a lot of some local and regional stuff out there. I'll try to do my best to kind of go over some of the scores and such. But we had state wrestling, Braden Sonnentag. You've heard Brandon talk about him quite a bit. Another state championship, 4 years, 4 state titles for the Cadott senior. So congratulations to him. We had Menominee's, Kellen Ori, also getting won the Division I title at 132 pounds. Blair Taylor's Jackson Schramek won Division III. Cumberland's Dawson Johnson won Division III at 126. Blair Taylor's Jackson won Division III title at 182. Cumberland's Dawson Johnson captured the Division III title at 126 pounds. Hudson's Liam Neitzel won the Division I title at 106. Amory's Coy Hopke and Wyatt Ingham both won titles in Division II. Neilsville Greenwood Loyal's Gunnar Hoffman finished with the Division II title at 285 pounds in the first ever girls tournament. Seal Fairchild, Augusta, Fall Creek's Brianna Weir captured the title at 152 pounds. So busy weekend on the wrestling scene. So congratulations to those wrestlers. Hockey, Menominee, Golden State. They defeated Menominee. 10-16 on the season, I believe. But going to state where they will face the number 1 seeded New Richmond in the state hockey semifinals. So got that matchup coming up. I think that's the first one later on this week here too. So we got some boys hoops playoffs. They're going to be starting coming up here as well. Girls hoops, we're getting closer to state. Just a couple more wins, and some of these teams will be going to states. That includes Eau Claire Memorial, the 5 seed. They're going to be taking on the 1-seeded Neenah. Also, we've got Wausau West, a 7 seed, upsetting number 2 Superior. They're going to be going up against Hortonville as well. Got a couple of upsets in this Division I bracket. It kind of looks like for girls hoops over there. So, all right, I kind of like that. I like that. Division II wise, Menominee, the 1 seed, continuing their run here. They're going to be going up against the 7th-seeded Toma. You got New London taking on Lakeland as well at the bottom end of that bracket. What else do we got here? Okay, so let's move to Division 3. It's number 1 seeded Somerset's going to be taking on number 3 seeded St. Croix Falls. Number 1 Elk Mound. Moving on, they'll be taking on number 2 West Salem in a little Division 3 action on there. Moving to Division 4 for girls hoops, we got Phillips taking on Phillips is number 1, number 3 seeded Colfax. Number 1 seeded Neilsville continuing. This should be a good game. Number 1 Neilsville going to be going up against number 2 Fall Creek on there. That's again Division 4. What else we got here? We got let's move to Division 5 a little bit here. South Shore, number 1 South Shore is going to be taking on number 3 Siren. And Prairie Farm, number 1 seed Prairie Farm is going to be taking on McDonald Catholic, the 2 seeded. These games look like they're going to be happening on Thursday over there. So got that going on. We know where the boys hoops are going to be starting up this week as well. So keep you posted on that. Blue Gold action. Blue Gold girls basketball. They came from behind 19 down against UW Stout to get the victory to move on, where they faced Whitewater for the WIAC championship, but they did fall to Whitewater in the championship 71-62. So now it's going to be some selection. We'll find out later today whether the girls and the boys hoops team will be making it to the NCAA tournament. So make sure you're keeping posted with that. And then later on this week, we're going to have some looks like we're going to have some hockey too for some championships and such as well for the Blue Golds. You can check out the entire Blue Gold schedule coming up, or I should say going to bluegolds.com. We got gymnastics going on, indoor track and field results, and all that good stuff. Man, it's busy. I don't know how Justice and Brandon can keep tabs of everything out there. I'm glad I just doing what I'm doing over here. So, but yeah, all right, a lot of stuff going on as we kind of wrap up this winter sports season, moving into the spring one. But shout out, that's actually, I might as well kind of bring it up here now too. But for our motivational Monday picks, you can go with a lot of them. I went with the Menominee Boys High School hockey team, getting to state, advancing, getting to state. Sonnentag, 4-time state champion at wrestling. Blue Gold girls basketball being down 19 on Friday, and then coming back to beat Stout to get to that WIAC championship. If that's not motivational stories right there, motivational sports stories over there, I don't know what the heck is, man. So we could have picked like everybody. We could have picked like a lot of other ones for Monday. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong in them. But those were the 3 that I picked my motivational Monday. Again, Menominee Boys Hockey and Mr. Sonnentag from Cadott for wrestling, and Blue Gold girls basketball from coming from behind for that win against Stout in the WIAC tournament. So, man. And then we got WIAC championships coming up for hockey later on for the Blue Golds too. So Brandon will be on with us later this week, so he'll do a better job breaking everything down for us coming up then. All right, before we get to some hoops talk, a little football here. So the Packers created some cap space over the weekends by doing some restructures with Jair Alexander and Preston Smith. And because of those restructures now, the Packers are about $5.9 million available in the salary cap. So they started off the offseason over the cap. What was it? $20-some million over the salary cap. Now with Aaron Jones and that contract, that pay cut he took, the restructures that the Packers did with Jair and Preston Smith, the Packers are about $5.9 million below the cap. Still not a ton available. They can create some more cap space if they agree to a long-term deal with Rashawn Gary, which I mean, if I were a betting man like G-Man's 401k or whatever, I'm probably putting on there that the Packers will get a long-term deal done with Rashawn Gary before the season starts to lower that cap hit for this year, because his cap hit's at about $10.9 million. They could do a little restructuring with Kenny Clark's, it looks like, if they wanted to create a few more $1 million available in there too. But we all know the big one out there is the quarterback, number 12, Aaron Rodgers. What's the decision going to be? I still feel like if he decides he wants to play and he wants to play for Green Bay, he's going to be in Green Bay. I feel like it's retire or playing in Green Bay. I don't know. It's my gut. It's purely my gut. No inside info or anything like that. I feel like Aaron is either retiring or he's playing with the Packers. Now, I don't know if any of these moves really signaled one way or the other. These were moves that the Packers were going to have to do regardless. They had to get into the cap. And they still got to clear some more cap space if they want to do anything in this offseason. Could some of that come by moving on from Rodgers? Yeah, maybe a little bit there, yeah. But I think the big ones are probably going to be like the Rashawn Gary one, lowering that $10.9 million cap hit with his first contract. First real contract, because his first contract was that rookie contract, right? Because when you look at, you look at rookie class, you got to factor that in for your cap space. So there's going to be some more moves made. But, speaking of football, it is Combine Week here. So the question that I was kind of throwing out there for you all, I guess a two-parter. One, do you pay attention to the Combine at all? Two, what's like the most boring, over-the-top, overhyped sporting event that's out there yet? You can't turn away from it. You tune in like you know it. It's like, I know this is so boring, but I can't shut it off. I cannot not tune into that thing. Few picks. Actually, a few people picked the Olympics on here. Just kind of going through some of the text. A couple of you said the Combine. A few of you picked the Olympics. Now, I don't know if there's specific events within the Olympics or just the Olympics as a whole. But, yeah, a couple of you picked golf when Tiger's in it. A couple of you picked watching tennis. A couple of you did pick Bucks basketball. Maybe it's just because you're not a basketball fan out there. But, interesting picks so far. Nobody's picked like football games or anything like that. Nobody's picked baseball games either. So, but keep those coming. All right. Kind of curious to see where everybody's at this point. So you can hit me up with a text, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. Still looking for your favorite 90s Major League Baseball players as well that are not named Ken Griffey Jr. Let's get a good list going on there. All right, let's talk some hoops. Bucks, Badgers, Marquette. Let's talk about it. Some good, some not so good. Quick break. We'll be back after these few words.
You're listening to the Dan Kasper Show.
We are now at the point in time where we are just itching for spring and summer to get here. We're getting teased with some warmer temperatures here and there, but remember, it's Wisconsin. We should know better. We do this every year. But this is also a good reminder that, hey, it's a good time to start thinking about getting your vehicle ready for the spring and summer. Or maybe it's getting close to that time and picking back up your summer vehicle restoration project so you can get ready to hit up the car shows. Whether you're needing to get your vehicle ready for some road trips or car shows, ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire is ready to help you get ready. Need Need some new tires, batteries, or a quick oil change? ASAP Used Auto Parts has that all covered for you. And about those hard-to-find, high-quality used auto parts to either help you save some money on a repair job or for that restoration project, ASAP Used Auto Parts can help you find that part that you're looking for. And hey, don't forget, they also offer a military discount. The amazing customer service at ASAP Used Auto Parts wants to help you with your auto needs. So stop on by at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire and just visit their website at asapusedautopartsec.com.
Get ready to save half with half-off deals. It's a great way for you to get goods and services that you will love, and you don't have to pay full price. Start saving this Friday, March 3rd, with Wisconsin Makers Market. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save with this week's half-off deals. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com.
The reviews are in. It's the best thing I have ever tasted in my life. This is the best thing that's happened in my life, even better than my wedding. That's what everyone has to say about Man Cave Light, the official beer of the Dan Kasper Show and the Man Cave podcast. Try it for yourself and you will know exactly why people say it's like sipping a little bit of heaven. Man Cave Light is available on tap at the bar in Hy-Vee. You can also grab a crawler or 6 and take some Man Cave Light home with you. So go try your new favorite beer, Man Cave Light, today, and you will know exactly why one reviewer said, I cry tears of joy every time I have one.
People who come to Cricket stay with Cricket, just like our customer Christine.
I'm a director and a performer. I got a free phone from Cricket and I've used it to live stream 73 of my shows on social media.
How do you like it?
It's fabulous!
Switch to Cricket and get a free Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Real customer paid for testimonial, limited time. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month first month service charge and tax due at sale. Phone streams video and SD. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Fees, terms, and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
People who come to Cricket stay with Cricket, just like our customer Christine.
I'm a director and a performer. I got a free phone from Cricket and I've used it to live stream 73 of my shows on social media.
How do you like it?
It's fabulous!
Switch to Cricket and get a free Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Real customer paid for testimonial, limited time. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month first month service charge and tax due at sale. Phone streams video and SD. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Fees, terms, and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
It looks like your luggage is over 50 pounds. Is there anything you can take out?
Oh, yeah. Let me just toss all these $20 bills.
Great. Let me grab you a trash can.
Stop. Instead of throwing money away, move some clothes into a carry-on. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of a new Samsung laundry set with extra large capacity, serving up a powerful yet gentle clean in just 28 minutes, making this the sound of savings on the best appliance brands. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Final days to get up to 25% off select appliances, including Samsung. All finishes included. Ends March 1st. Pricing valid February 9th through March 1st, 2023. Gas Dry Extra. US only. See store or online for details.
Do you remember all those times playing in the backyard and daydreaming of either playing on your favorite sports team or dreaming about all the goals you wanted to accomplish in life? We still do that today, and that's why we created Backyard Dreams. We want to help people accomplish their goals, chase their passions, and achieve their dreams. Whether someone's dream is to attend a ball game, someone needs a new pair of basketball shoes, or a Little League team needs help going to a tournament, we want to help, and we need your help as well to help our community. To learn more about Backyard Dreams, just visit sportstalk1051.com.
Well, kiddos, you got some of you have got now no school today as Eau Claire, who originally started off as a 2-hour delay. Virtual learning now. You're staying home and doing some virtual learning. So you want to keep updated on those lists. Altoona, also a virtual learning Monday. Chippewa Falls looks like so far just opening late for a couple hours here. But again, you want to stay updated on that because it's ever changing. Like we mentioned, Eau Claire, started off originally 2 hours late, but now they're going to a virtual learning. Pretty slippery out there. I walked out there just to kind of check everything out and put some salt out there for everybody else, and it was pretty slick on the concrete steps out there. So if you do have to head out on the road, be safe, be careful, drive slow, take your time, maybe head in a little bit later if you can, maybe when those temperatures warm up and melt some of that, or get the plows a chance to go out there and salt some of those roads. So, all right, let's talk a little hoops as we're already approaching the bottom of the hour here. Bucks picking up their 14th straight win, but as Hudson would say, it should be 15 in a row if you count the All-Star game with Giannis and Drew Holiday playing in there. But they got the victory also on Friday night against Miami. Giannis did start that game, even though there was some questions whether he would or not. But he ended up leaving the game due to an injury, not his wrist injury that was bothering him, but they're calling it a quad contusion over there. So we'll see. It's kind of day by day sort of thing. But originally they said he banged knees against somebody, and it's like, oh no, not a knee injury. But now they're kind of calling it quad contusion there. But the Bucks were able to get it done. Big part because of Bobby Portis returning to the game on Friday nights. Jay Crowder making his appearance Friday night for the Bucks too. But with Giannis leaving early in that game against Miami, it was kind of the Bobby Portis show. 20 was it? Let me bring it up here because Drew Holiday had 24 points, but Bobby Portis 18 points, 11 rebounds, a double
machine.
You had Grayson Allen contributing 16, Brooke Lopez 17, Chris Middleton off the bench for 12 points. So Bucks with the 128-99 victory over the Miami Heat, who Kevin Love on the team getting the starting lineup was 0 from the field. But then you look at yesterday in a game against the Suns, no Giannis. Suns didn't have KD. He sounds like he'll be making his appearance with the Suns later this week. Maybe Wednesday. I think they said Wednesday, whoever they play there. But Bucks got off to a fast start. Phoenix crawled back into it, took the lead, had the momentum there in the fourth with 6 minutes left in the game. But then the Bucks crawling back, big help and big thanks to Drew Holiday. Crowder making a couple big buckets there towards the end too against his former team. And the Bucks were able to seal the deal, 104-101. Drew Holiday, 33 points. Brooke Lopez, 22 points. Middleton off the bench, contributing 11 points there. So the Bucks, as we mentioned, 14 straight games, longest win streak in the NBA so far this season. They have improved to 43-17 overall. An impressive 26-5 at home. Now when we're kind of getting to March here, they got one more game before they flip the calendar to March here, but you look at their home record so far, 26-5, and that's where I'm like, oh Lord, if the Bucks get home court advantage, what's going to stop them from not going to the NBA Finals? What's going to stop them there? Boston. I think if they do meet on a collision course between Boston and Milwaukee, that is going to go 7. That's going to be a heavyweight battle. That is going to be an awesome series if that were to happen. And you can look at it. I mean, Boston's 20-10 on the road, 24-7 at home. Milwaukee 26-5 at home, 17-12 on the road. You can make the case whoever's got home court advantage in that potential series might win it. It might go the full 7, but the advantage might be the home court at that point in time. I know they were kind of debating at halftime of that game yesterday. Was it Stephen A. Smith and such? Milwaukee and, the depth that they have. And they're kind of talking about Boston's the only other team that can kind of match the depth that the Bucks have right now. And I think that's fair to say. I would say that that's accurate. And when you look at across the NBA, who do you think are the other legit title contenders with about 20 some games and change? Again, depending on which team you're looking at right now. Bucks have 22. But outside of Boston and Milwaukee, are there other legit title contenders in your opinion? I would put Denver on there. I think Denver's kind of running away now with the Western Conference. The next closest team to them are the Memphis Grizzlies, who are 5.5 back right now. And the Grizzlies are just one of those teams too. It's just like you look at these home and away records for some of these teams. The Grizzlies 25-5 at home. Fantastic home record. God awful on the road. 11 and 18. 11 and 18 on the road. Even Denver 28-4 at home, 500 on the road, 15-15. So I'd say Boston, Milwaukee, Denver, and I think I would put Philadelphia in there. They're 39-20 right now. They're 4 games back from that 1 seed. They're coming off of that loss against Boston over the weekend. But I think with Joel Embiid, you do have James Harden on there. Philadelphia is going to be a factor. They're going to be a tough out. I'm going with 4, but I think there's a chance we might have to say 5 and put Phoenix in there. I want to see what Phoenix looks like with Kevin Durant inserted in the lineup. Booker, he's going to get his shots. You got DeAndre Ayton. Chris Paul, think he's fine being more of the facilitator. Not really going to be taking away shots from Chris Paul, right? But it looks great on paper. It looks good on paper. But as we've seen throughout the years in any other sport, just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean it's going to work out. But, I mean, you're talking about a Booker and a KD and a DeAndre Ayton. I mean, Bridges is also, you're going to be taking away shots from him. He's averaging 17.2 per game. But if it does work out, Phoenix could be a dangerous team. They can be a really dangerous team. So right now I'm going to say 4 legit title contenders in the NBA. 3 are in the Eastern Conference. Potentially 5. And I know the Clippers are still there too. You got Russell Westbrook adding with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and such. I know everybody's excited about that. You got Kyrie with Dallas. They just blew a lead against the Lakers yesterday. I don't know if those are like title contending teams right now. I wouldn't put them in that category. Maybe in the next tier, but not in that title category. At least for me. Maybe that's just me. I'll go with 4, but potentially 5. I want to see what the Suns look like with KD in there. So the rest of you, it looks like a lot of you going 4. I know G-Man, you said 4 as well, and you got Bucks and 6 over there too. But, yeah, it looks like the majority of you are going with 4. You haven't listed your teams there, which is okay. But, yeah, it looks like a lot of you kind of going through some of the text in there. You are going with 4. So, yeah, I'll go 4 with the potential of 5. All right, let's move to a little bit of college hoops here. I want to start off with let's start off with Marquette. Let's give them a little bit more love here. So they got the Big East regular season championship, 23-6 this year. They picked up that win against the DePaul. I always like saying them. 2 more games left on their schedule. Butler, St. John's. We'll see if they climb up the rankings here a little bit more. They're the 10th ranked team in the country right now. But no doubt about it, what Shaka Smart has done in his second year with the Golden Eagles and what Marquette has done is it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Shaka Smart should get some Coach of the Year consideration if he's not. I don't know why he wouldn't, but he absolutely should. I don't think he'll win. I think it's going to go to, maybe somebody like, Alabama or something like that. But there's no doubt Shaka Smart should get some serious consideration for Coach of the Year. Only got 2 more games left in the regular season to finish this up, and then we'll see kind of how it all transpires. Badgers looked like they were going to maybe get the win at Michigan in regulation. Little back and forth there at the end, and they were up 3. And then every Badger basketball fan's favorite opponent, Dickinson, throws up a prayer and hits the 3 to force overtime. The big man hits the 3 and forces overtime. And the Michigan Wolverines get the 87-79 victory. I'm going to get back to that play here in a second. But how does this affect the Badgers' chances of making it into the tournament now? 16-12 overall. 8-10 in conference play. Here's the thing. Michigan's 11-7 in conference play. 17-12 overall. If you were watching the game, the commentators were kind of saying this wasn't really detrimental to Wisconsin. It was kind of a bigger win for Michigan than it was a bigger loss for Wisconsin. It was kind of the theme that the commentators were saying after the game or towards the end of the game. And I was looking at bracketology to see if anything has been updated since that game. If you're looking at the Jerry Palms or the Joel Lunardi, I can never say the guy's name. Lunardi. You know who I'm talking about, ESPN. Anyways, they haven't updated it since the 24th, both of them. And they both had Wisconsin as a part of their last 4 in. ESPN had them in with Oklahoma State, USC, and Mississippi State. Jerry Palm from CBS had the first 4 in with Oklahoma State, Penn State, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. Does this affect it at all? I was kind of hoping they'd have them updated here a little bit. They don't. But now you look at Wisconsin in their final 2 games here. You got Purdue at home. Good luck with that one on the 2nd, March 2nd. Thursday night. And then you finish up at Minnesota. I feel like Wisconsin can lose this game against Purdue, but there's no way in hell can they lose to Minnesota. I feel like if they lose to Minnesota, anything short of a long run in the Big Ten Conference Tournament, they ain't going in. They're not going into the dance. I think you can get by with losing to Purdue, but you cannot get by to losing to Minnesota. I'm already chalking up a loss against Purdue. But I don't know. It's going to be tight. And the thing is like, I don't have confidence to say it's a guaranteed win for the Wisconsin Badgers against Minnesota. I don't. When you're looking at that game, I mean, what else can you say about Connor Essegian? Nobody really knew a whole lot about him before the season started. Then he comes in, kind of making a name for himself in the early parts of the season. Sets the Wisconsin freshman record with 3s. He scored 24 points. How about Klesmit? 19 points, making some big plays down the stretch. That block that maybe, I'll be honest with you, I thought that block that he had with the corner 3 where Michigan had less than 2 seconds left, I thought that was like, oh yeah, that's game. That's game. He was making some plays. 40 minutes of play for him. 19 points. 5 of 8 from 3. But Badgers overall just shot 8 of 23. And Michigan wasn't even that much better at 3 either. Michigan was 7 of 21 from 3. But overall, 49.2% from the field. And here's my Monday morning quarterback and second guessing. What would you do different? We all know what a Monday morning quarterback is. Wisconsin, fouling. When you're, up 3 with just a couple of seconds left. You heard the commentator say, I would foul. I would foul. I would foul. Wisconsin didn't foul. And you had a prayer. And it went in. This is the talk all the time when it gets to that situation in basketball. Do you foul or don't you foul? It sounded like Greg Gard wanted the team to foul. He said after the game, you're risking catch shot and you're risking or you foul on the floor. We made a play on the ball we shouldn't have made. The play that Gard was alluding to was when Davis jumping to contest the inbounds pass instead of staying square and contesting Dickinson's three-point attempt. So it sounds like Greg Gard, I don't know. He didn't really, it's tough. And I was reading a little bit from Wisconsin Rivals. And then one of their opening paragraphs said Greg Gard has struggled to get this year's team to foul when up at least 3 and time ticking down. Badgers struggled with that same problem in the final seconds. Kamari McGee couldn't get the foul call as the ball was dribbled up the court. Max Klesmit blocked that three-point attempt from the corner. Gard said he instructed his players not to foul due to the catch and shoot opportunity that would likely occur with 2 seconds left on the clock, instead telling his players to stay between the shooter and the basket. So there you go. Should he have fouled or should they have not fouled? Yeah, it's. I think you got to give a little bit of credit to Hunter Dickinson too for able to take a dribble and shoot. It was a prayer. Threw it up there. Big man threw it up there. It was a good shot. I think a little bit more here. You can kind of criticize Jordan Davis's defense. Went after contesting the inbounds pass instead of, maybe kind of staying in that lane as we talked about there. But I want to throw this question out to you. If you are a Hoops fan, or if you're a basketball coach listening, or you're a basketball player right now, what would you do in that situation? For our Monday morning quarterbacking, what would you do in that situation? Would you foul when you're up 3 with just a couple seconds left? What was that situation last night? So Greg Gard said he instructed his players not to foul due to the catch and shoot opportunity that would likely occur. I'm assuming he's talking about potential 4-point play. Shot, you don't want to foul on a shot. Shot goes in, boom. If you're a hoopster, you're a hoops fan, you're a hoops coach, you are a hoops player, what would you do in that situation? Are you telling your players to foul? Or are you saying, no? You would do what Greg Gard said, telling his players to stay between the shooter and the basket. Let's get a little bit of an informal poll going on here. I'm curious to see what the mindset is for a lot of people out there for our Monday morning quarterback. Kind of some breaking news here. I don't know if this will be of positive note for Bucks fans. According to The Athletic, the Milwaukee Bucks co-owner Mark Lasry has an agreement to sell his stake in the Bucks to Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam. So Jimmy Haslam is going to be a co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks for a cool $3.5 billion. $3.5 billion. So there you got it, Bucks fans. I don't know of a lot of Bucks fans who are happy about this or what. You go through some of the comments right now on Twitter, and it ain't good. It's not a lot of happy Bucks fans. Not a lot of happy Bucks fans. Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam going to be one of the main owners for the Milwaukee Bucks. There you have it. All right, let's take a break. I want to know from you, Bucks, or Hoops fans, Hoops coaches, Hoops players. Same exact situation in the game last night or yesterday afternoon with the Badgers. Do you foul up 3 with 2.1 seconds? Or do you agree with Greg Gard?
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
Any plans on what you're doing with your tax return this year? Maybe paying off some bills or expenses. That's reasonable. But what else is reasonable is making sure you also treat yourself once in a while. Can I make a helpful suggestion? How about heading to Tilden Gun and finally upgrading that deer rifle or turkey shotgun of yours? Because really, when was that last time you updated that hunting firearm of yours? So save a little bit of money from those tax returns this year and head on over to the locally owned and family operated Tilden Gun. They'll help you find that hunting firearm you're looking for. And the best part is that you won't have to use all of your tax return money because Tilden Gun has the best prices and deals in the area. Whether you are looking for a new firearm or want to check out some used firearms, Tilden Gun has a wide selection to choose from and no pushy salespeople to get you to get something you don't want. Experience it for yourself. Just visit tildengun.com and visit their shop at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Tax season just got better because you are treating yourself with a new hunting firearm from Tilden Gun. You can't always see it coming. It's nearly impossible to predict. It's that moment when you go to open your refrigerator only to see everything in there is warm or melted. Your refrigerator is busted. Now you're on the clock. You have to instantly decide whether you're going to find someone to fix it or get a replacement. Same thing can happen with your washer and dryer. It can be a fairly stressful situation to figure out where to get a new washer, dryer, or refrigerator without spending a lot of time finding one, and ideally, doesn't cost a lot. Well, it just got a whole lot easier because of the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore. The Restore now has new unused Samsung appliances available. Washers, dryers, refrigerators, and ovens. Various types, finishes, and features. These are essential appliances we need in our daily lives. So when it comes time to replace them, take a visit to Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore and check out their line of Samsung appliances. The Restore is located at 145 North Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire. The reviews are in. It's the best thing I have ever tasted in my life. This is the best thing that's happened in my life, even better than my wedding. That's what everyone has to say about Man Cave Light, the official beer of the Dan Kasper Show and the Man Cave podcast. Try it for yourself and you'll know exactly why people say it's like sipping a little bit of heaven. Man Cave Light is available on tap at the bar in Hy-Vee. You can also grab a crawler or 6 and take some Man Cave Light home with you. So go try your new favorite beer, Man Cave Light, today, and you will know exactly why one reviewer said, I cry tears of joy every time I have one.
People who come to Cricket stay with Cricket, just like our customer Christine.
I'm a director and a performer. I got a free phone from Cricket and I've used it to live stream 73 of my shows on social media.
How do you like it?
It's fabulous!
Switch to Cricket and get a free Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Real customer paid for testimonial, limited time. Must bring your number to Cricket on a $60 a month first month service charge and tax due at sale. Phone streams video and SD. Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Fees, terms, and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
Register to win a Chevy Camaro convertible at Menards. See store for details.
The latest sports news, scores, opinion, and commentary. If that's not enough, you should seek professional help. The Dan Kasper Show.
All right, we got about 9 minutes to the top. Coming up just past the 8 o'clock hour, we'll get to a little studs and duds action. If you want to play along with us, send us your studs and duds by hitting us up with a quick text at the Shoe Doctors Bullpen line, 715-830-1912, facebook.com/Kasper Sports, also on Twitter at DANKASPER. We got, I would say, just kind of a quick informal thing here. 3/4 of you saying, gotta follow. Gotta follow. I'll just say surveyor used words I cannot say, but he says you gotta follow. Any news on Chucky Hepburn's injury? I didn't see anything. I saw Evan Flood, though, say or tweet that he saw the sophomore point guard leaving the stadium, wasn't hobbling, but extremely pissed. Greg Gard did say after the game, I don't know. I haven't talked to our trainer. He was in the locker room. I'll learn more as we go forward. So that's the latest that I've seen on Chucky Hepburn. By the way, Sir Bear also saying I can't stand it, but I get intrigued with the combine, especially the Badger guys and guys linked to the Packers. Also, I can't stand to watch, but get sucked into the Masters. There you go. What are the reason I kind of bring that up, because the combine week here is going on now. But what is like the most boring sporting event or sports thing that is out there that you just get sucked into? Like, it's like it's boring, it's a little overhyped, but you get sucked into it. You get drawn into it. What is that for you? Is it the combine or is it something else? Kind of all over the place right now. With the combine, though, too, just be prepared with a lot of smoke screens, a lot of rumors, a lot of talk out there. It's going to start to really kind of spike up now. Like one of them that was reported by Schefter early this morning, and it could be true. They could be true, but I'm just going to – this is now like the kickoff of a lot of rumors and reports and all that stuff, and you're going to hear like players with smoke screens because you're going to have teams try to maybe throw stuff out there to lower a player's draft stock so they could potentially get them, and you're going to have a lot of smoke screens. But Schefter had tweeted out earlier this morning that the Bears are getting a lot of calls on that first overall pick, and the Bears, quote, leaning towards moving that pick. Which, I mean, let's be real. It makes sense, right? It makes sense for the Bears to move the pick. Unless there was what they believed an absolute game-changing playmaker that would probably get drafted over the quarterbacks anyways, then you go that. But you got a quarterback-needy team that is willing to give you maybe a couple first-round picks and a lot of other draft capital to move up a few spots. I think if you're the Bears and you already have your quarterback in Justin Fields, it's smart to move this pick. And it's smart to kind of like, all right, let the bidding begin. Because it's not just one team. It's a few teams. Think about it. You've got the Texans who are in that second spot, but they may have to move up to that first spot to prevent any other team from leapfrogging them into drafting the quarterback that they want. Who would be that other team? You got the Colts. The Colts are probably looking for a quarterback. Long-term one now, right? The Panthers. They're in that conversation. They're looking for a quarterback. So you've got these teams that are going to be willing, if there's a quarterback that they just believe they're dead set, like that's the number one guy. That's the guy we love. That's the guy we want. It's going to be a buyer's premium there for Chicago. Throw in the Raiders at number 7 potentially. Do the Falcons get into the mix? They're at number 8, but are they going to ride with Desmond Ridder? I think Chicago's still going to want to stay within the top 10. But they're also going to take whatever's the best deal too. I think the fascinating one to watch might be the Colts. I think to me that's going to be the big one to kind of see if there's going to be a move made. Because it allows the Bears to stay within the top 5. Colts jump up. They get a quarterback. Texans, we know, are going to draft a quarterback at number 2 if they stay at number 2. Their first pick, wherever it's going to be, the Texans are going to draft a quarterback. If the Colts move up to number 1, they get their guy. Arizona at 3, they're not drafting a quarterback. And so Chicago, if you think about it, unless Arizona trades out with another team that moves in, Chicago, if it plays out the way they want it to play out, they can move back a couple spots, still get the guy that they might draft at number 1, but a future first rounder and other draft picks in their stash too. That's a huge win for Chicago. plus all of their draft capital, or all of their free agent capital, their salary cap money. I think if you're a Bears fan, you got to at least feel a little bit, and I know this kind of pains me to say this, but you got to feel maybe a little bit good about the future of your team. Now you can say, well, look at the, GM front office. Maybe you're a little skeptical on that, but you've got your quarterback. You'd probably like it if you'd have taken advantage of the salary cap space and this draft pick, maybe a little bit earlier in his rookie contract, but you look like you have a talented quarterback. You've got almost $100 million available in salary cap space. You have the number one draft pick that you could sell for a lot. This is like a GM's dream with what Chicago has right now. This is a general manager's dream. It looks like you have your young quarterback. All that money and the number one pick for sale. This is fantasy football. This is the ultimate dream, I think, for what general managers just sit there and be like, oh, this is my Super Bowl right now, baby. This is what let's get it going. I feel like the Bears are going to make a move. I think it's going to be a bidding war between the Colts and Texans, because I think if the Texans really want that number one quarterback, if they feel like there is a gap between, let's say, Young and CJ, if they feel like there is that gap, they're going to have to pay a lot to move up just one spot to make sure they get their guy. If they don't feel like that gap is huge, or maybe they got CJ above them, then they won't make a move. It's going to be all dependent on how these teams view these quarterbacks and the gaps between them. If they feel like one is so much better than the other, then it's going to be a buyer's market. Or I should say seller's market for Chicago there. All right, we got studs and duds coming up here. Again, in case you're just joining us and you missed it, the Bucs have a new co-owner, Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns. He is purchasing a stake in the Milwaukee Bucks from Mark Lazary for a cool $3.5 billion. That's the valuation that's being reported out there by The Athletic. So you've got an owner that's had a questionable history, not much a fan favorite. Now he's into the Bucks market. Now he's part of the Bucks franchise. Whether this means anything or not, obviously he's not the full-on owner, but I think a lot of Bucks fans are a little concerned because remember, the Bucks have like that governorship term for their owners every couple of years, every few years. I think that's probably where Bucks fans are most concerned about, is when he's like the governor. It's during his term, but will we even be able to tell? Will there be a difference in the Bucks? I really don't know. I think a lot of Bucks fans will probably just be like, can you just be one of those quiet owners? Yeah. Don't get your hands in the roster building. John Horst, I think, has done a pretty darn good job as Bucks general manager since he's had the job the last few years. Right? I think we can all agree with that. 2 in. We got one more to go. Studs and duds coming up after these news updates.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. From the 715 Newsroom, it's Morgan McCarthy with your news on Sports Talk 105.1.
Good morning. Well, here's what we're learning today. Coming out of the weekend and to begin a new week, we go to Dunn County, where 2 people are dead after a house fire there. It happened early yesterday morning at a duplex in Menominee. Firefighters say neighbors tried to get the 2 out, but were unsuccessful. Fire investigators are now looking into the cause of that fire. In other headlines and on the political stage, former House Speaker Paul Ryan says crucial programs that support older Americans need to be reformed. Longtime Republican from Janesville made those comments in an interview with WISN's Up Front. Sounded like this.
Let's not forget that both Medicare and Social Security go insolvent in a decade, which will cut these programs and lead to a debt crisis. So the smart thing to do is, knowing that that's coming, step ahead of the problem, reform these programs so that they can make their promises, keep their promises, and be there for the next generation and avoid a debt crisis.
Continuing on the political stage and at work at the Capitol, Wisconsin lawmakers turning the page and their focus to reading in public schools this week. Both the Assembly and Senate Education Committees will hold a hearing to get expert testimony from the state's Department of Public Instruction and literacy experts at the University of Wisconsin. The latest test scores show most kids around the state cannot read or write at grade level, and several studies show more and more kids cannot read properly by the fourth grade. Now, lawmakers have been working for years to find an agreement on how to reverse those numbers and get more kids where they need to be when it comes to reading. We have a final tally from Mother Nature and the Wisconsin State Patrol during our weather hiccups last week. They say they responded to nearly 200 crashes and motorist assists during the storm, 7 of which involved injuries. Of course, we're facing a little mixed bag of precip this morning as well as we keep eyes to the sky and our Monday unfolds. And in other headlines, a restaurant at Eau Claire's airport wants to sell drinks in the terminal. The folks who own Hangar 54 Grill, maybe you're familiar with that. It's a pretty popular spot for a lot of people. They're asking for a new liquor license to sell drinks, maybe sandwiches from a mobile bar in the terminal. Says a lot of people want to grab something before the flight. No word when we might hear a final decision on that. And the sturgeon spears are in the garage for another year. Sturgeon season ended in Wisconsin yesterday with 715 Newsroom coverage. John reels in the details.
Sturgeon season ended yesterday in Wisconsin. The State Department of Natural Resources says fishermen on Lake Winnebago grabbed over 1,100 sturgeon this year. The biggest issue wasn't the fish, it was the weather. The DNR says a warm start to the season, followed by a snowstorm last week, made for tricky conditions on and off the ice. I'm John DeMaster.
And a hog breaks the piggy bank, a new record for the most expensive motorcycle ever sold. You might recognize the name, Harley Davidson.
It now belongs to a 1908 Harley Davidson strap tank, which went for $935,000 last month. It was discovered back in 1941 in Wisconsin, that eventually led to a collector from Indiana restoring the bike. I'm Mark Mayfield.
You know, that's actually where we found one of the best scripts for one of Kasper's sports shows ever. When was that?
It was discovered back in 1941 in Wisconsin.
For Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
Some of us may have a slick commute this morning as we have some freezing rain that's expected to continue over the next couple of hours, eventually giving way to a few raindrops and a few snowflakes mixed in, with temperatures only climbing to the low to mid 30s, right around our seasonal averages. Otherwise, in the clouds for tonight and starting off tomorrow in the clouds as well, but a little bit warmer as we climb to the upper 30s and potentially see a few peaks of sunshine, eventually leading to another chance at some snow showers tomorrow night, with lows dipping to the upper 20s. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike D'Andrea.
From local town councils to Capitol Hill, agents who are realtors are standing up for what's right. We're here protecting property rights. Here advocating for the issues that affect our neighborhoods. Here championing fair and equitable housing for all. Because we are realtors, bound by a code of ethics, driven to serve our communities. We're here for it all. Here for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Welcome to the Dan Kasper Show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's the show that features serious, thought-provoking sports talk and insightful sports commentary.
You knew it!
In other words, it's the show where they all talk a crap load about sports.
Let's go for it!
Now let's introduce your host, a man who lives and breathes and has a passion for sports. A man who breaks everything down in the sports world and gives you everything you need to know. Plus a bunch of stuff you probably don't need, but you'll still enjoy it.
You can't handle the truth.
Here is your host, Dan Kasper.
Prime time, prime time.
Third and final hour on this icy start to your Monday morning, to your brand new work week here. Be careful out there. Now, a lot of schools that started off with a 2-hour delay this morning have now switched to closed for the full day and virtual learning and such. I saw Chippewa Falls has now joined that list as well. So again, you can should get the entire list out at our websites. Big thanks to Hovlands and Service Master Chippewa Valley for that. But kiddos, you got a lot of virtual learning going on. I know mine is really excited about that. A lot of sarcasm in there. So coming up, we're going to get back to some more baseball talk. Your first impressions from some of the rule changes, some of the, the pace of play from what you saw in spring training this weekend, or what you heard. Maybe the better one if you didn't get to see it. You're listening to it on the radio dials here, 105.1 FM and 790 AM on Saturday. Catching the voice of baseball, Mr. Euchre again. What were your thoughts? What were your first initial? Because, it's a very, very small sample size, right? Very small sample size, but what were your first impressions from what you saw? So we'll hit that up coming up here in just a little bit. We'll keep you posted if anything happens in the football world here. But our good friend Rob Demovsky, some more number crunching with the Jair Alexander and Preston Smith contract restructures. Packers have about, again, if you go to Spot Track, I think they got it at a 5.9. So we're nitpicking it here, but Rob said the Packers now have more than $6 million in cap space after restructuring Jair and Preston Smith over the weekend. So, they began the offseason about 20-some over the Aaron Jones contract, Alexander and Preston. Now the Packers are under the cap. They still got some work to do, though. And I think the next one is going to be either the quarterback or Rashawn Gary's long-term extension to lower that cap hit for this year. So, all right. Bucs fans, if you're just tuning into, you got a new owner, part of the group. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, is buying Mark Lazzary's stake in the Milwaukee Bucks. So he's not the full-on owner. He's one of the main owners now for about $3.5 billion. $3.5 billion cojones. What would you do with $3.5 billion? Would you spend it on over to be a part owner of a would you do it to be a part owner of a sports team? Think about that. $3.5 billion. You're not even the full on owner. You're just part owner. Boy. Yeah. Not a lot of Bucs fans happy about this, though, looking at a lot of the comments on the social media and such, which kind of figure, kind of expecting. So, what else do we got on here? We got, what else are we going to hit up? Well, we'll go back to some hoops talk, too, with the Badgers and Marquette and Bucks and such. But let's go do some studs and duds.
Who's the stud and who's the dud? You decide right now on the Dan Kasper Show.
All right, studs and duds here. We are going to let's go with some studs. Let's go with some studs first. I'm gonna go with Marquette for winning the Big East Big East regular season title. That's a big time stud right there. Shaka Smart and the job that he has done. Fantastic. Let's see how far they can get into the actual dance. But this season, second year under Shaka Smart, and what he's done with that program has been awesome. So, also, I am going to go with Damian Lillard. Last night, 71 points for the Portland Trailblazer, matching Donovan Mitchell's number for this season. Got to put him in that stud category. I think Damian Lillard, we kind of forget about that guy a little bit. I think it was at the beginning of the year. Was that last year when they did? Yeah, it was last year when they did the top 100 players of all time, and he was tied for 76, I think, on ESPN's rankings when they did it. Now, that wasn't the official rankings, but kind of forget about Damian Lillard. I think you kind of forget about because Portland, West Coast, that sort of thing. But he's also a dude that shoots it from the logo, for crying out loud. We always, when you imagine somebody shooting it from the logo from half court, you always think Steph Curry. You always think Steph Curry, but Damian Lillard's right up there too. So, what else? We're gonna go with the with studs. Caitlin Clark from Iowa. She's actually gonna be on the DP show as soon as we shut off the mics here this morning. But Caitlin Clark from Iowa. We were talking about her. Was it last week or the week before? I think she made my cream of the crop. I think it might have been a couple weeks ago. But the best women's college basketball player in the world right now. Iowa versus number 2 Indiana. Yesterday, she hits a game-winning three-point shot. With only a couple seconds left, she hits a walk-off game-winning three-point shot last night, just to add more to her already historic, fantastic legacy. And she's got another year. She's got another year. Great college basketball. I would put her as one of the best all-around college basketball players in the country right now. Easily one of the best shooters in the country. This was the call from the game yesterday. Audio courtesy ESPN.com. If it wants to play for me, because now the computer apparently is taking a little bit of a winter ice break as well here. So that'll come up here in a second. But easily one of the best shooters in all of college basketball. We saw her, I think it was a freshman a couple years ago, just hitting these deep three-pointers, just all over the place. And her career has continued to trend that way. We went through the numbers a couple weeks ago when she was on my cream of the crop. You're talking about points and assists. She's already, Big Ten record books for that, for career numbers, points and assists. Her career and her talent right now is just unbelievable. And if you don't know a whole lot about her, Google it, YouTube it, watch some of those clips out there. Here we go. Taking down number 2 Indiana. Look, the MVP shows 9:05. Saw the schedule out there this morning as the boys are going to be back from the week off there. So those are my studs: Caitlin Clark, Marquette Hoops, Damian Lillard. My duds, well, I'm going to switch it up here. I'm going to go with my one dud. And maybe nothing will happen. Maybe we're making a bigger deal out of it. But my dud here is going to be Jimmy Haslam being part owner for the Milwaukee Bucks now. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope a lot of us are just kind of like freaking out for no reason. Freaking out might be a little bit of a dramatic sense, but I haven't seen like one positive thing from Bucks fans saying they're pumped about this move. And I'll say at least he's not like the full-on owner. Like he can't just do whatever the heck he wants. I think the majority of Bucks fans, why they're concerned about is when it's his turn to be that governor role. Can he do anything? Will he do anything that'll ruffle the feathers? But I just, we'll see. Maybe we're all overblowing it. I hope I am. I hope I'm overblowing this. Hopefully we don't hear anything from him. And, he's just one of those quiet owners there. I just don't want him messing with like front office, roster decisions, anything like that. Let John Horst do his job as general manager for the Bucks. Because you know what? He has been doing a fantastic job. And I was thinking about this Friday night watching that Bucks game. And you look at some of the moves that John Horst has done since he's been general manager. And remember, when he was first hired, there was like some head scratching, like, really? Okay, he was director of basketball operations, but the Bucks already had like their assistant GM in waiting who was going to be the next GM. But then they went a different route, and there was like, But John Horst has done a fantastic job. And I think one of those moves, this is what I was thinking about Friday night, watching Bobby Portis just ball out. One of those fantastic moves that he did was bring in Bobby Portis and keep Bobby Portis. At that time when Bobby Portis was signed, did we expect Bobby Portis to be the guy what he is right now? Heck no. I mean, maybe there was some excitement. I remember going through the draft process, okay, stretch 4. That was when, stretch 4, everybody wanted to stretch 4. Guy that, is like a power forward but can hit the outside jumper. Bobby Portis was out there. He was a name. Kind of a, maybe a target for the Bucks. Got drafted by the Bulls. Then went to the Knicks. But he has made a name for himself in Milwaukee. And just, of all the moves that John Horst has made as general manager, the Bobby Portis one might not be the big splashiest one like his trade for Drew Holiday and such. But the Bobby Portis one, yeah, John Horst has done a fantastic job. So that's where I don't want Jimmy Haslam to get involved or try to meddle in to roster decisions, front office stuff. Be a quiet owner. Don't do anything stupid. And let John Horst do his thing. That's all I care. Just don't do anything stupid. All right. Tell you what, we'll take a quick break here. And then we'll talk some more baseball. Baseball fans, what were your first impressions on what you saw from spring training games with the rule changes and the pace of play? If you missed some of the numbers that we mentioned in the first hour, bring them back up. But games are about 21 minutes shorter on average. Now, it's a small sample size, but do game lengths matter to you as a baseball fan? Yes or no? Do you want shorter game times? Does it matter to you at all? I want to hear from you. So start hitting me up with some texts, tweets, or Facebook messages. We'll take a quick break and be back after these few words to talk a little baseball. Reminder, don't forget to head on over to Mike's Star Market and grab yourself some of those finalists for our brats. You got the dill pickle, cheddar and bacon, the jalapeno and bacon, the taco flavored brat, got the snack sticks, the pizza flavored, and the Parmesan garlic. Go taste test them, buy yourself some packages, taste test them, and then head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and vote on your favorite flavor. All right, got to vote on your favorite flavor over there. Decide which one is going to be your new brat over there. So voting is still close when I last checked it. So every single vote is going to matter at this point. Head on to Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire and grab a package of each and test them out for yourselves. To answer a question about the YouTube feed, we can't air the commercials. We're not supposed to. I know I accidentally left a button in. We can't, air that feed in the background, copyright stuff. So unless you guys want to pay the fine for that for us, we can't have the music intros and all that sort of stuff. We're not supposed to. Otherwise, we could get copyright violations on there. So yeah, unless you want to pay for the fines and all that. But yeah, a lot of you, after we posted up that Buck story, a lot of you are not happy right now. You're not happy with the Bucks ownership. So we'll see how it all plays out. Again, hopefully nothing drastic will necessarily change, but something to definitely keep an eye on. No doubt about it. All right, hey, let's talk some baseball. So we got our first glimpse of some of the new rules with baseball here. What were your thoughts? Now, I'll go through these nuggets that I should say these numbers that I mentioned in the first hour, but I'll bring them back up here in case you missed them. Mike McConnell does some play-by-play for the mothership, or Mike Monaco, I think is how you pronounce his name. Anyways, he did the math here. 2022 average spring training game length, 3 hours. So far, this year's spring training games, 2 hours, 39 minutes. 2 hours and 39 minutes. So you're talking about a 21-minute difference. Now, again, it's an extremely small sample size. We just got a few games into it. But your first impressions on it so far are what? And really, I'm kind of talking about the clock and the shortened games. I mean, we already saw where the pitching clock or the clock affected a batter, affected the offense. The Atlanta Braves game, right? Bases loaded, tie game. Dude thought he walked in the winning run, was actually called for a strike because that's the violation. If you're taking too long to get in the batter's box, if you're not ready in the batter's box, you get called for a strike. So he got rung up for a K. You got rung up for a K there. So we already kind of saw that in effect on the first weekend of games. Got to get in ready. Can't do the whole Ryan Braun doing the glove thing and taking the deep breaths and having 1 foot in, 1 foot out, having the arm up, to the umpire there saying, hold up, yet, hold up. Got to get in. Side note, I would love to see a guy like Ryan Braun play in these new rules. Just because he was taking forever to get in that batter's box. I would love to see how he would have adjusted to that. I would have loved to have seen his different approach. Just out of curiosity. Because you hear a lot of athletes talk about routines, getting in a routine. Whether it's that, free throw routine, it's the same thing. I had a free throw routine. It was always flipping the ball backwards so when it hit the ground or hit the court, goes back to you. 2 quick small dribbles, bending the knees low, deep breath, shoot. It was the same routine all the time. But what were your thoughts on it? A lot of you this morning, I would say the clear-cut majority of you were all about it. You loved the quicker pace of play. And for those of you who said you did like the quicker pace of play, is there a particular reason, like why? Or is it just like, you know what? They drag on? Because if we use the numbers of last year's, and there's been a couple different numbers reported for average game lengths in baseball. It's been like I've seen 3 hours and 7 minutes. I've seen 3 hours and 10 minutes. It's somewhere around there. We know it's a little over 3 hours. But we also know that's the amount of a football game. And I don't know how 100% accurate these numbers are. But I saw this, and I'm kind of curious to see where everybody else is at on this. So this was I saw this on Twitter from is it Tyler Matzik? Average MLB game length, he put over a little over 3 minutes. Average action time in Major League Baseball, 18 minutes. NFL, their average game length was longer. According to his numbers, a little bit, almost about 10 minutes longer. And their average time of a ball in play, 18 minutes. He posed the question, does baseball need to speed it up? Or do they need to become more entertaining? The thing is like, I don't know how what's your definition of making baseball more entertaining then? Like, how would you do that? Like, I don't want it to become gimmicky. I don't want to see baseball become gimmicky. I don't want anything like, I don't even know like what you could come up with to make it gimmicky. Like, hey, hit a home run in this spot. Like the stadium ones, you hit it here when it cards. I don't even know how you do something like that in baseball. I feel like baseball is baseball. I don't want a lot of stuff to be changed to make it not baseball. So, what would your definition of being more entertaining for it be? Not every person out there who's a baseball fan is a football fan. Not every football fan is a baseball fan. Not everybody likes every single sport out there. I think when you see some of these rule changes and some of this stuff out there, it's geared towards people who enjoy baseball. I'm fine with the game. I will admit it, for the banning of the shift, when this was first talked about for the last couple of years, I was against it. But after hearing other people talk about it and hearing their reasonings and looking at the other stuff, I'm good with it. Let's roll, baby. I'm good with it now. After learning a little bit more about it and hearing the proponents about it and the reasons why, I was like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm game. Let's see this. But I just don't want to see a sport like baseball become too gimmicky just because some people think it's not entertaining enough. Like, what would your definition of that be? I don't even know how you would change it. Baseball is baseball. Basketball is basketball. Football is football. They are what they are. And I'm sorry, but baseball can be pretty darn freaking entertaining. I still think there is some of the best moments in all of sports is playoff baseball. Whether you're at the game, if you've never been to a playoff baseball game, the atmosphere is electric. But I also think you could feel that electricity through the TV. Like the crowds, whenever there's like a big strikeout, they're just into it, or a big hit, home run, something. We can sense that, right? We can feel that. And I think, the comparison of like ball in play or action time, these phrases that people are using between like baseball and football, and you all know me, like I'm a big football geek. I love my football. But I'm standing up for baseball in this, where I don't think you can kind of compare the ball and play and like action time or whatever the phrases that they're going to use. I don't think they're accurate comparisons. And I will say, like, I always, baseball, I'll be curious to see if it kind of changes with this pace of play here a little bit. Because, I liked baseball. I liked going games for different reasons than maybe going to a football or basketball game. Basketball is just constant action. up and down the court, right? It's constant. You can't get up to go to the bathroom or grab a beer unless it's a timeout, and then you got to hurry up, or unless it's the end of the quarter or halftime. Football is kind of the same thing. Football, you're on the edge of the seat. You've got 40 seconds on the play clock or whatever, but I'm putting myself in a position like if I'm at the game. Football, I ain't going to grab a beer. I'm not running to the restroom and waiting in line unless it's end of the quarter, halftime, or my team's on defense. Like, I don't want to miss an offensive play because those are usually the times. We know it happens on defense, but those are usually the times your team's going to score. You don't want to miss a scoring play. But everybody else goes at those times. Baseball was always like, no, you can go whenever. Maybe you go when your team's pitching or on the field. But, it wasn't one of those like for me, I'm like, I have rules. I'm like, can't go then, can't go then, can't go to the bathroom, can't get something to eat until this, that. Baseball is more that casual, like, okay, I can get up here. I can turn around and talk to somebody during a play, during a pitch. There's more of that laid back atmosphere, the relax, the chill. But with the increase in, with the clock going on and the pace of play picking up, my own personal thing I'm curious about, does that kind of change that narrative a little bit? You know what I'm getting at? I'm sure a lot of you are the same way. Maybe you're watching football at home. Commercial break. Okay, that's quick. You run to the bathroom, get your stuff, go. Baseball, I'm like, I can do it whenever. But I wonder now with the clock, with the thing it's more of a constant action. Like it's more in a flow. Does that change it where it allows fans to be staying in tune to the game more? Where they, can't leave their seat. Don't want to miss a pitch. Does this faster pace of play keep these fans more engaged longer? I think it does. I think it will. I mean, I've been there. I'm sure a lot of you have been there. After the first few innings of a baseball game, and then when they start to do the, all the pitching changes and that, and they try to combat that by, pitchers got to stay in for this amount of time and such. But it's like after the first few innings, you're like, okay, this is a great pace. It's moving forward pretty good. Moving along. Like it. Love it. But then it really slows down. And then you're like, okay, really? Can we hurry this freak up, Unless it's like a really close game. But I kind of want to experience this going to the stadium and going to a game with this faster pace of play. Like I want to experience it being there, not just on TV, but like being there. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm the only one that has these dumb rules, and you could tell me if I'm dumb or if you can tell me if you have something similar. But like when I'm at Lambeau Field, I have particular times where I won't leave. Like I will not go grab a beer or run to the bathroom if the Packers are on offense. Not going to happen. If it's like end of the quarter or halftime, yeah, I know I'm going to wait in line longer, but I'm not missing any action. Sometimes I might go when the Packers are on defense and, it's like a minute or two before halftime trying to beat that rush. And it's like, maybe that team's pinned back deep. But baseball was like, oh, yeah, I'll go grab a beer when, so-and-so's pitching. It's, fourth inning or something like that. I'm shooting the you-know-what with somebody next to me. It's more that casual, laid-back type of feel. Anybody else have any weird rules like that? Basketball, it's kind of the same for football for me. It's like, okay, I'm just sitting there and I got to watch it back and forth. I don't know. But from the majority of you, I'm not going to go through every text here, but majority of you so far like the increase in pace of play. A couple of you also kind of mentioned that it allows you to stay, or it makes you stay focused, I should say, to the game and doesn't allow you to kind of like drift off a little bit. All right, let's take a quick break here. Also, don't forget one of the fun questions I kind of put up there on social media was that I was talking to a buddy of mine over the weekend, and he's getting back into collecting cards, but it's baseball cards. And I don't collect baseball cards. I never really did as a kid. I have some, but baseball wasn't the one for me for whatever reason. It was football and it was NFL and NBA. But, and I'm thinking like, okay, if I ever did start to collect baseball cards, it'd have to be a player from the 90s. And I'm sitting there trying to think, I'm like, who would it be? Like Ken Griffey Jr. is the main one for everybody, right? Griffey is the main one for everybody. So if it wasn't Ken Griffey Jr., take him out of the equation. Who's your favorite 90s Major League Baseball player? Take Griffey Jr. out of it. It's kind of like, take Jordan out of the 90s NBA. Then who would be your favorite player, or who was a player you like to follow? We've gotten a wide range of players. Some I never really expected. I'm actually surprised of the Kenny Lofton picks that we've gotten. A big chunk of you picking Kenny Lofton. Got a couple of the Vaughns, Mo and Greg. No Barry Bonds picks. A few Chipper Jones here and there. Cal Ripken Jr. Frank Thomas. That was one of mine. Not a lot of pitchers. Just a couple people picking pitchers, though. Which, maybe if you're listening, if you're like me, maybe you're a kid and you're all about, hey, chicks dig the long ball, right? So you're looking for the hitter. But take Griffey out of it. Who's your favorite 90s Major League Baseball player? So last call for that. It's just been kind of fun seeing everybody's picks on here. And like I said, the Kenny Lofton one really kind of surprised me. Did have a few Robin Yount's and Paul Molitor's, which, if you're a Brewers fan, that makes sense and such. But Kenny Lofton, popular one. That surprised me. All right, we'll take a quick break and wrap up shop here. Cover the bases and all that fun stuff out there, too. How many of you, be honest with me, do you actually pay attention to the combine now that it's combine week? Be honest. Say about it's not even close. 98% of you. That's what I'd go. 97, 98% of you saying you love the new rules from what you saw in baseball this past weekend. So, all right, I would say that's a clear majority. You're also joining Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer said he likes it. He loves the new MLB rules. Says pitchers totally dictate the pace. Really, the power the pitcher has now, I can totally dictate pace. The rule change of the hitter having only one timeout changes the complete dynamic of the hitter and pitcher dynamic. I love it. It's a cat and mouse game. There's rules, and I'll operate within whatever the rules are. I can work extremely quick or I can work extremely slow. There's another layer here to be able to mess with the hitter's timings. All right. They got Max Scherzer, one of the game's best. He loves it too. And like I said, majority of you, and it's not even close. A couple outliers don't like it, but otherwise, everybody else, major in love with it. More picks, a lot of Sandberg picks coming in now. So got a lot of Cubbies fans tuning in. They're picking Sandberg. That was a popular one there too beforehand. I know I didn't mention his name. I kind of forgot about it, but then we had a couple more picks coming in with Sandberg on there too. So he's definitely been one player up on that list of favorite 90s Major League Baseball players. Anybody else that that maybe you haven't heard said yet that you would put on that list? We had a couple pitchers. Roger Clemens and Randy Johnson was on there. We didn't have any Greg Maddoxes on there. I don't know if it was like this I'm sure it was because of TBS and TNT. It had to be, but like the one team I'm surprised that I didn't really grow up being a fan of was the Braves because they were on TNT, TBS. I saw those promos all the time. Turner Broadcasting, right? We get it. I mean, they were on all the time. And, when I was a kid in good old Medford, we didn't, unless I didn't know about it, but wasn't often that you saw a Brewers game on TV. But the teams that I did see on TV, Cubs, Braves. It's Cubs, Braves. And some reason, I honestly do not know. I have no idea how it turned out this way. And it honestly could have been, maybe it was because of the hat. I got a hat of them. But I always said as a kid I was a White Sox fan. And I remember I had a White Sox hat. And I would always play the White Sox in video games, RBI baseball, on Nintendo or, Super Nintendo would always be the Sega White Sox. I was always a White Sox. And I really have no reason why that I can remember, but I always say like Frank Thomas was my favorite player. I honestly don't know why. I couldn't tell you why. I can't remember. But I do think it's kind of interesting that I wasn't a Braves fan. I really liked Chipper Jones, but I wasn't a Cubs fan, but even though those were the ones on TV. And I think that's why I was an Orlando Magic fan as a kid, is because they were on TV all the time. Shaq and Penny, the hype, it was all over the place. I bought into it as a kid. I was a Shaq and Penny fan. Therefore, I was an Orlando Magic fan as a kid. But it's kind of been interesting to see a lot of these player picks coming through here. It's been a lot of fun. All right, let's finish covering up some of the bases here this morning. It is Combine Week. I'd say it's 50-50 on the people who kind of pay attention to the Combine. About 50-50 here. I don't watch it. I don't watch. I'll pay attention to some of the result or some of the stuff out there. Like I'll be tuned into Goody's presser from the Combine tomorrow. Although I'm sure there won't be anything that's said. That's it's typical general manager speak and such. So I mean, I'll be curious to see kind of where the Badgers perform. Some of the Badgers that are going to be there, maybe some players that you are targeting for your team that you're kind of watching. So, hey, maybe if you're a Packers fan, you want them to draft one of these tight ends. Maybe you're kind of paying attention to the tight ends. So that's kind of where I pay attention to it. I don't sit in front of the TV and watch it. I got better things to do. But I'll kind of follow along on like the internet or see some clips or or anything like that. And mostly it's like the position groups, I think, that I could see Green Bay maybe trying to target. Tight end's going to be one of them. Maybe the safeties. Maybe a wide receiver again. And then, of course, you always follow along with the quarterbacks, right? You always kind of follow along with what the quarterbacks are doing. But that's going on. I think the first workouts are going to start, was it Wednesday or Thursday? But players are starting to report in, and obviously a lot of the media is already there and that sort of thing. If you are wondering about the Aaron Rodgers pool, today was the day that the majority of people signed up for. So, like Brandon's mom, Brandon, rest of you, Steve, Josh, got a few more on there. Today's your day. Otherwise, you get the big old X through it. And then we move on to the final day of February, which is tomorrow, which was my day that I had on there. So we'll see if it happens this week. Packers did make some room in their cap space with some restructures with Jair and Preston Smith. They've got about $6 million available in cap space right now. They're under it. Cool. But they still got some work to do, whether that is from the quarterback position, moving on from 12. I think the other most likely move to create some cap space is going to be Rashawn Gary, signing him to a long-term deal, and then maybe a little restructure with Kenny Clark. Just taking out that good old credit card, that old MasterCard or Visa, and just swiping it through and pushing the charges down the line here a little bit. Does this open up the possibility of them trying to re-sign Allen Lazard? Maybe, but again, I think a lot of it is they're kind of in a holding pattern with Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position. What's 12 going to do? Talk some college hoops. We should get the latest rankings up here, but Badgers falling in OT in that ridiculous 3 at the end. We asked the question, should the Badgers have fouled in that situation? Greg Gard said they tried to foul before that, but then the block shot. And he talked about a catch and shoot situation with just about 2 seconds left. Instructed his players not to foul. Would you have fouled with 2 seconds left in a catch and shoot situation? Maybe you're a little too nervous about catching it, shooting it, makes the 3, but also gets the foul. Then Michigan essentially might have won the game then there if they hit that free throw. What would you have done? It's about 60-40. I'm surprised. It's about 60-40 of you saying you would have fouled. I thought maybe it would be a little bit higher for some people out there, but nonetheless, maybe some of you too were cautious of the catch and shoot situation. But another loss here for the Badgers. When we check the bracketology from ESPN and CBS, it hasn't been updated in the last couple of days. Both of them had Wisconsin in as one of their last 4 teams in. Does this loss affect it? If you listen to the commentators during the game, they said the win was bigger for Michigan than what a loss was for Wisconsin. They've got Purdue coming up. I'm already chalking that up as a loss. You cannot lose to Minnesota, though. You absolutely cannot lose to the Gophers in your final regular season game. If that happens, don't even bother thinking tournament play. One team that's going to be thinking about tournament play, Blue Golds, women's basketball. We mentioned them in our Motivational Monday. Came back from 19 down to Stout to get a victory to earn a spot in the WIAC championship game. They did fall to Whitewater there, but now they will find out today if they will be going to the tournament, if they will be dancing. Men's basketball too. We'll find out there. Got WIAC championship hockey coming up later on as well. We went through some of the local and regional stuff a little bit earlier too. So shout out to all the state wrestlers, teams going to state for hockey, boys hoops playoff starting, girls hoops still continuing their playoff run, getting closer to earning some trips to state as well. We mentioned the Bucks. They've got a new co-owner, Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, and just going through some of the comments like on ESPN and Twitter, because I was kind of curious to read comments from non-Bucks fans. to see what their reaction was like. I was trying to see like, well, okay, maybe some Browns fans are chiming in. And yeah, even fans of non-Bucks fans right now, they're saying good luck, Milwaukee, or have fun, Milwaukee. So it's not just Bucks fans that are down on this. It's other fans that are like saying, yeah, good luck with that. Great. All right. So okay. Yeah, I don't know if C-Bomb's even listening right now, but going back to that Rogers pool, last year, his decision became public on March 8th. C-Bomb has March 8th. Free agency is March 15th. I think the only difference, though, and again, I know Aaron said that they would probably have to restructure, but I do wonder if Green Bay knew before March 8th, like they knew that he was coming back, and then it just took a little bit longer to, get that deal in place, and then that was when it became like known and public and that. I don't know. I have to try to go back in the memory bank to think about that one. All right. We're going to get cut off here. So tomorrow, got a little Grind My Gears Tuesday. We'll hit that up. So think about that. What's grinding your gears here lately? Save them for tomorrow. Also, we'll do a little pop quiz Tuesday, and we got a press pass Tuesday. Goody is apparently talking tomorrow to the media from the Combine. So for your press pass Tuesday, I'll give you a little bit of a homework assignment here. If you could ask Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst one question, and you're going to get a truthful answer, you can ask him one question at the Combine. We'll teleport you to the Combine tomorrow morning, and you can ask him one question. What would it be? What would it be? So think about that. That's your homework assignment for tonight, okay? You had one chance to ask the Packers general manager a question. What would it be? That's going to do it for us. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Looks like they're going to be chatting with Caitlin Clark, who, she was on our studs list for her game-winning shots against Indiana. Best shooter in college basketball, man. Be safe. Drive safe out there. Have a good rest of your day. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6.